On a bright summer morning, the air buzzed with joy and excitement as friends and family gathered to witness what was supposed to be a picture-perfect wedding. The white dress, the carefully arranged flowers, the music, everything seemed like it belonged in a fairy tale. But in the middle of this dreamlike setting, a moment unfolded that no one expected. And it would soon have the entire internet talking. It all began with a simple role at the ceremony, the flower girl. The bride had chosen every detail of her big day with precision, from the colors of the napkins to the exact arrangement of roses on the aisle. Yet, when it came to one request, a sweet little girl who wanted to walk as the flower girl, things didn't go the way anyone imagined. The girl was dressed and ready, full of excitement, her little basket of petals clutched tightly in her hands. She had been looking forward to this moment for weeks. But when the bride saw her at the rehearsal, her response shocked everyone. What should have been a joyful yes turned into an unexpected refusal. The bride didn't want her to take part, and the reason left whispers spreading through the crowd. Some guests exchanged confused glances, others were visibly upset, and the little girl's face fell in disbelief. The tension in the room could be felt instantly, casting a shadow over the happy occasion. As the wedding day arrived, emotions were high. Relatives tried to calm things down, some urging the bride to reconsider, others comforting the child. Guests pulled out their phones, recording what was happening, not knowing these clips would soon spread across social media and stir a conversation much bigger than this single event. What happened next was something no one could have predicted. A decision in that moment transformed an ordinary wedding into a story that captured millions of views and sparked debates across the internet. The question still lingers: how did a bride's refusal turn into a viral sensation that left everyone talking? And what unfolded after that would change the way many people saw the wedding forever. The story behind that moment didn't just start on the wedding day. In fact, the little girl had been chosen by family members because of her sweet nature and close bond with the groom's side. She was full of energy, loved by everyone, and had practiced her role so carefully that she could barely sleep the night before. Her family had told her proudly that she would get to walk down the aisle scattering petals, leading the way for the bride. To a child, that felt like the most important job in the world. But from the bride's perspective, the decision wasn't so simple. She had envisioned her wedding as a flawless picture, one that matched her exact taste and preferences. Every detail had been planned months in advance, and she believed that even the smallest change could throw off her dream. Some say she wanted the flower girl to match a very specific look. Others whispered that there had been past tension between the bride and the child's family. Whatever the reason, the refusal wasn't just about petals, it became personal. Guests began to take sides. Some defended the bride's right to control her special day, while others felt heartbroken for the child who had been excluded at the last minute. In today's world, where moments are captured instantly, the reactions didn't stay private for long. Videos began circulating online, with viewers around the world watching the exchange in disbelief. Comments poured in, asking why such a small act of kindness couldn't have been allowed. The wedding atmosphere shifted. Instead of excitement, there was a sense of unease. People wondered how the groom felt and whether this single decision would leave a lasting mark on the marriage itself. And just when it seemed like the situation had reached its peak, something unexpected happened that no one in the crowd was prepared for. As the ceremony drew closer, whispers turned into quiet. Arguments among the families. The groom's relatives tried to reason with the bride, gently reminding her of how much the little girl had been looking forward to this role. They hoped she might soften her heart, even at the last moment. But the bride stood firm, her eyes fixed on the details she had imagined for months. To her, the wedding was about perfection, and she believed compromise would ruin that vision. The groom, caught between loyalty to his bride and love for his family, found himself in a painful position. Some guests noticed his uneasy glances, the way his smile faded each time the subject came up. He tried to focus on the joy of marrying the woman he loved, yet the tension weighed heavily on him. Meanwhile, the flower girl's parents struggled to hold back their disappointment. They didn't want to cause a scene, but it was impossible to hide the tears in their daughter's eyes. When the guests finally took their seats, the atmosphere felt divided. On one side, friends of the bride defended her decision, insisting that every bride has the right to shape her day however she wishes. On the other side, the groom's family quietly exchanged looks of frustration, their disappointment clear. The contrast in emotions created an invisible line between the two groups, one that could be felt with every glance and whisper online. The story was already spreading faster than anyone expected. Clips of the rehearsal circulated, and strangers who had never met the couple were weighing in. Some called the bride selfish, while others argued that social media had no right to judge private choices. The viral attention only added fuel to the fire, turning what might have been a small disagreement into a global debate. And then, just as the music began and the ceremony started, an unplanned moment threatened to shift the entire direction of the day, leaving everyone holding their breath for what might come next. The ceremony began, and the soft notes of the piano filled the room. But instead of joy, there was an undeniable heaviness in the air. Guests tried to smile, yet their eyes often drifted toward the empty space where the flower girl should have walked. The little girl sat quietly with her parents, clutching her basket of petals, her face pale with confusion. Every guest who noticed her couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. And the tension grew with each passing second as the bride entered. All eyes turned to her radiant gown and flawless appearance. But for many in the crowd, it was impossible to ignore the invisible shadow of the earlier refusal. The groom forced a smile, though his clenched jaw revealed his inner struggle. Behind the polite applause, emotions simmered: anger, disappointment, and disbelief mingled with admiration for the beauty of the moment. Then, just as the couple reached the altar, something unexpected caught everyone off guard. A few guests began whispering louder, phones subtly raised to capture the unfolding scene. The officiant tried to maintain focus, but the restless energy in the room was undeniable. Each word spoken seemed to hang in the air, waiting to be interrupted. On the groom's side, an aunt shifted in her seat, visibly upset, while others whispered about whether the wedding could continue smoothly. On the bride's side, friends reassured her with supportive nods, urging her to stay composed. The invisible divide between both families was no longer subtle, it was written on their faces, in the way they leaned away from each other, in the silence that swallowed what should have been laughter. Social media notifications buzzed from phones in pockets and purses, fueling the growing storm outside the wedding walls. Millions were already watching, waiting to see what would happen next. And as the ceremony teetered on the edge of chaos, one small action was about to push everything into the most intense moment of the day, leaving everyone breathless and uncertain of what was coming. Just as the officiant prepared to move forward, a sudden movement drew every eye in the room. The little flower girl, who had been sitting silently for most of the ceremony, stood up with her basket in hand. Her tiny steps echoed against the floor as she began walking down the aisle, scattering petals one by one, just as she had practiced. The guests gasped, some in shock, others in awe. For a moment, it felt as though time froze. The groom's family erupted in soft murmurs of support, their eyes shining with pride. But on the bride's side, faces stiffened. The bride herself turned sharply, her expression impossible to ignore. It was the unplanned twist no one had seen coming, and suddenly the entire ceremony became a stage for raw emotion. The tension reached a new peak. As if the wedding itself was no longer about love and vows, but about control. pride. And what this single act represented. Phones were lifted higher now, recording every second. Social media comments began to pour. And live from those following along, calling the little girl brave and innocent, while others speculated about the bride's next move. What had started as a personal disagreement had now spiraled into a viral wedding. Controversy unfolding in real time. The groom looked torn, his eyes following the girl as she reached the altar. His jaw tightened as if he knew the weight of what was about to happen. Would he defend the child or side with the bride's vision of perfection? The officiant paused awkwardly, unsure whether to continue or address the disruption. Every guest leaned forward, holding their breath. The bride's silence was louder than words, her reaction carrying the power to either calm the storm or ignite it even further. And in that moment, everyone realized this wasn't just about a flower girl anymore. It was about something far deeper that was about to come to light. The entire room waited for the bride's reaction. The silence stretching longer than anyone expected. Her eyes were locked on the little girl now standing at tea.